Alright, so I'm just an idiotic, stupid dog, and this was a really eerie Johnny Depp movie. And the whole movie, 2.5 hours, takes place in an elevator. Johnny's standing at the back of an elevator. He's dressed, Johnny's looking pretty good. He's looking dapper. In this movie, it was like a noir movie, like a carte blanche movie. He was just dressed as he would normally be in real life. He had lines, he had crow's feet, he had laugh lines, he had potchiness, splotchiness in his face noid. Johnny was not looking great, but he was looking great for a man his age. And Johnny was looking great because he stayed so svelte. He stayed so thin. But basically, Johnny was standing at the back of an elevator, back in the corner. If you were looking into the elevator, he was in the back right. If you were standing in the elevator, he was in the back left. He had his big old, I don't know what it was. It was an automatic, semi-automatic, big, giant cannon, a hand cannon. I don't know if it was a 44 special. I don't know what they called it. It was automatic. It held 9 shots. It could blow a hole in an ox. I don't know what, it was not one of them little skinny, little svelte German weapons. I mean, this was a weapon that would blow a big hole in you. You only had to tag somebody with this ordnance and they would be down. You put one on the center of their line, they would be blown away from history's very ensconceness. But anyways, Johnny, he was standing. The whole thing is we're going to look at it from the standpoint of if you're looking through the door of the elevator. Johnny was in the back right corner with his daughter in this particular movie. And he had a hand cannon that could blow a hole in an elephant. But the whole problem was that Johnny didn't know what was going on. Johnny didn't know who was chasing him. Somebody was chasing him. Somebody wasn't chasing him. Johnny was like, hey, whatever's whatever. I'm not worrying about it. He knew the jig was up and he had to shoot his way out of the thing. But somebody stepped on the elevator and they were very mean and nasty. And they looked like they had the upper hand on Johnny and his daughter. And they were like, Johnny, we're holding your daughter hostage. Immediately, Johnny said to his daughter, I will see you in paradise. And that was her clue to make sure she was getting ready to die. Because Johnny was going to shoot it out with these people. And he was not going to give in to these people. And he was not going to let them get the upper hand. He was not going to let him get in a situation of weakness. He said to his daughter, I'll see you in paradise. And she knew right then and there. She was sank. She was, whatever you say, what they say when they say they give them up to the higher power. They give somebody up. They make them, like they're offering to a God on high. Johnny's daughter, right there tucked as you're looking from the hallway into the elevator. She was in the back right hand corner with her dad. She knew her dad had already given her up for whatever you would say, a sacrifice. She was going to go down. And he looked right in her eyes and said, I'll see you in paradise. And these people, they believed in paradise, so they weren't that worried about it. Johnny's daughter is a young girl. She's like, why do I have to go to paradise now? I want to wait. I want to be an old lady. I want to be 43 when I go to paradise. I want to be 57 when I go to paradise. Johnny's like, you're going to paradise maybe today. Johnny withdrew his big giant hand cannon and he shot this guy. He nipped him right in the back of the neck. It pierced his back, the flesh of the back of his neck. It didn't let out much blood, but what it did is it cut off his ability to walk. It pierced everything going down from the brainoid to the bodynoid, and the bodynoid became limp, and this boy fell down squat. He fell down like a rug somebody dropped. He fell down like a wedding cake that somebody took upside down and splashed on the floor. This guy was dead. He was dead, but he could live. He could live like Keanu Reeves or the guy who was Superman from the old days, the first Superman, the second Superman, the third Superman. He was the third Superman, the first guy who jumped over like something that you'd train horses to jump over. He got his neck broke, and he was just like an android or an antibiotic. He was like the precursor to the AI. He was a dead man walking. Literally, they made him walk, and he was like, holy shit, I'm only alive from the head up, the neck up, from the base of the neck, from the base of the head up. The neck down, I'm dead. But anyways, no one knew what this really meant. But in that elevator, everybody knew what it meant. It meant carnage. It meant lethal, bloodletting, vicious violence, and flesh-renting bullets flying hither and yon. But Johnny was back there in the corner. He's like, I got the corner. It's like having the first move in chess. You're the white in chess. You got the first move. Johnny's like, hey, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to shoot everybody. Hopefully my daughter doesn't die. I'm going to jump in front of my daughter. I'm going to shoot this guy in his gonads. I'm going to shoot this guy in his guts. Then I'm going to shoot him in his head. I'm going to shoot this woman in her breast. And when she's worrying about her breast, I'm going to shoot her straight to the cortex, her cerebral cortex. All the bad people, Johnny already knew he was going to kill him. But basically, Johnny was like, hey, this elevator is going to be a meat grinder. And just because I got my daughter with me does not mean I'm not wholesale flork into the whole thing of renting flesh, bursting corpuscles, spraying brainoid, spraying the blood, just ultra violence back from Clockwork Orange times. I'm here to say it don't matter if my daughter's with me. I'll see her in heaven. So if you want to throw down, the funny thing was, Johnny was the first one to pull. He pulled his big, giant, beautiful semi-automatic pistol. It was like one of the highest caliber things you could shoot. It was like almost you could shoot down a plane with this pistol. He shot, and he aimed a little to the side because he knew the ricochet would bounce around. The ricochet cut open his daughter's shoulder, and it went straight into the primordial centigrade of an innocent bystander. When the innocent bystander fell down dead, some of the bad guys were like, holy shit, we're into it. By then, that first bullet had already pierced one of the bad guys, the very nape of his neck. It cut off his ability to stand. He collapsed down like a sack of turnips, and Johnny plowed down two of the bad guys. He plowed them down. He shot them down. He hit them like 2 or 3 shots each. It was 1 or 2 shots each. And he held up his last 3 shots for the one guy that could do him and his daughter in. His daughter had already been hit with a errant stray. Johnny knew that the ricochet would clip her and would give her a little, whatever you say, camouflage, see? It would give her a little bit of a, the blood sprayed up into somebody's eyes. The bad guy, the very worst bad guy's eyes, it's like a pull shark. The pull shark knows where the cue ball's going. He knows where this ball's going. He knows where every cushion's going to happen. He knows how to get it in there mathematically like Einstein. This pull shark should have been into astrological things. He could have proved this, that, or the other thing. But instead, he just shot pull. Instead of Johnny, in this movie, being a guy who could have discovered something that could have saved humanity, he was just a stone-cold, vicious killer that didn't give a shit about nothing but killing his opponents and surviving, even if that meant his daughter should die right in his arms. He's like, I'll see you in heaven. Don't worry about it. Johnny was an agnostic. He didn't even know if God existed. But in this case, he was like, I'll see you in heaven. Johnny was a little cheap because of that in that movie. Johnny didn't know if that girl would live or die or be in paradise, but he was banking on it in a way that he didn't really have that kind of a real good faith. But anyways, he knew the ricochet of the bullet. And he's like, if I know the ricochet of this bullet, and I know it's going to clip her shoulder, spray a lot of blood into my opponent's eyes, then I could shoot him right through his throat. And that's what Johnny did. The last bad guy standing, first off, Johnny's daughter, she got clipped in the shoulder. Her blood and flesh flew all through the elevator. Johnny had already crippled one guy. and he shot him right through the nape of his neck, and it clipped his, cerebral cortex, so he was alive from the head up, but dead from the neck down. The other two guys he plowed down. He shot them like each 1 to 2 times. I thought it was 3 or 4 times, but Johnny had 3 bullets left. So the one really bad guy got his daughter's blood sprayed in his eye and some of her flesh. He was blinded, so Johnny held his gun right to his neck. He's like, don't draw it up. That guy drew it up, and Johnny shot his throat out right from under him. The first guy went down like a sack of turnips. The 2 other guys went down squalling and crying like rabbits that were being killed by foxes. The last bad guy, Johnny shot him through his throat because he wasn't really sure what was going on, because his daughter was a little bit, too dramatic. She was crying and squalling like whatever. But Johnny got right down next to the guy. He shot a bullet right through his temple. He had one left in the chamber, and just anybody was there when they opened up the elevator doors. When they opened up the elevator doors, Johnny already pushed floor 3 as the last stop. So him and his daughter walked out. He's like, shut the fuck up. Wrap that up with a pillowcase. Wrap it up with something, whatever. And Johnny, he's a little harsh to his daughter because she never got shot before. And they escaped. And they escaped very far into the future. And Johnny didn't have to worry about it. His daughter went on to live her own life. Johnny never hooked up with his daughter anymore. He always was like, why don't you call me? But she's like, I'm not going to call you. She wouldn't even text him. Her thought was, I'm not going to call you because you are a assassin. Or else, if you're not an assassin, you're somebody that assassins are trying to kill, and you're killing assassins. She was like, I'm out of this. I'm not doing that. Johnny never talked to his daughter before after they stepped out of the elevator. But that was what they called, in the old school, elevator carnage. And this was boiled down to the essence of this take. But in reality, this took 2 hours and 30 minutes. It was like a Quentin Tarantino movie. Everybody was like slow motion, bullets flying, rending flesh. It was just disgusting. But in 2.5 hours, all I said to you was boiled down to 2.5 hours. But afterwards, I forget what you call it, the afterword or whatever, when you explain something that isn't including in the full body of the text. Johnny's daughter went on. She lived a full life. She married a factory worker. She was happy. She raised her kid. They were basketball players. They were football players. They were cheerleaders. They went on to become accountants and lawyers. They had a great life. Johnny, on the other hand, he went off to the Bahamas or some other Bali. He went off to live on some kind of tropical island. But that elevator scene was basically, Johnny recognized what was going on. He knew he had his pistol in his back pocket, ready to draw out and lay people to waste. He had his daughter. If you were looking into the elevator when the doors opened up, Johnny and his daughter were in the back right. The funny thing was, Johnny left his daughter on the outside. Johnny was ensconced up, tucked up in the very, very corner. The daughter was out into the whole thing. Like if they're walking down a promenade in the old New York City days, way back in like 1726, and people were throwing their shit and piss out the windows, their stew pots out the windows into the gutters, Johnny's daughter would have been doused with, chamber pot waste. And then Johnny was like, what? Johnny was like, hey, my daughter might have to help me survive. I'll help her survive. She's got to pay her dues. She's got to be part of this whole thing. She was standing on the outside. I was like, Johnny, you should be on the outside. The daughter should be tucked up in the corner. As you open the doors, in the right-hand corner should be Johnny's daughter, then Johnny on the left. No, Johnny was tucked in the corner. The daughter was on. And then Johnny fired off a round right away, which he knew would ricochet. It pierced the cerebral cortex, incapacitated one of the first assassins. He crumbled down like a sack of turnips. Johnny's daughter, from the ricochet, got clipped in the shoulder. She sprayed her blood and parts of her flesh all over. Johnny shot the 2 ne'er-do-well, associate assassins. He shot them down with 1 bullet and 2 bullets. He kept 3 in the chamber. He pointed right at the guy's neck. He shot the guy's neck out. The guy, the very worst assassin, had flesh and blood from Johnny's daughter's shoulder sprayed into his eyes. That incapacitated him enough where Johnny shot him in the neck and then shot him right in the temple before he could say anything. There should have been a couple things that the guy who got killed should have said, but Johnny shot him straight through the temple, and he assassinated him. He killed him dead. Now, the funny thing was, this is the truth. At the very end, Johnny and his daughter were long gone. There was 3 corpses in there, but there was one guy who was shot through the back of his cerebral cortex. He lived. No one knew it. No one realized. They flew him into Chicago so he could get the best neurosurgeon in the central part of the country. He was survived by this neurosurgeon's technical, not ambiguity, technical. What do you say when that somebody's so skilled? His technical, it's like his technical proficiency. His technical proficiency. He was saved, and he became dead from the whole neck down, but his head up was alive, and he told the whole story. And he's the one who relates this whole story. I'm a stupid dog. All I'm doing is paraphrasing this guy's relation of the true story. He was dead from the neck down. He was alive from the neck, like the cerebral cortex, the nape of the neck up. He was alive, just like Keanu Reeves. Or Reeves, the guy who was jumping the horses, and he died, Superman. This guy, this is the whole thing, all right? So I don't even know how many minutes this has been. I'm going to guess, oh my God, it's been 16 minutes. 16 minutes, YouTube's going to say hello, hooray, hooray, hello. It doesn't even matter. Don't worry about it.